Good morning. I'm Cedar Offerman, and I would just like to share with you just some tips for staying healthy and happy and grounded through this time on Earth. I think that often light workers want to make everything better. We want to care for our loved ones and we want to help out. And sometimes we forget ourselves in the mix. And it may be the most important thing during this tumultuous time on planet Earth for us to care for ourselves. And it's hard for us. It's hard for us sometimes to love ourselves and to, focus on giving our bodies what we need and taking deep breaths and all of these things. And what can happen is that, we can spin out and not be of any use to all those that we want to take care of. So begin by filling our own cup so that it can overflow, because an empty cup can't overflow. So I have a little formula, my little 1, 2, 3 formula for what to do to regain balance or to maintain balance in these physical bodies. And those are: 1, breathe. 2, drink pure water. 3, eat whole food. And it sounds very simplistic, but very powerful. So breathing is, of course, rather essential to a human body. Oxygen is coming out of these beautiful trees and plants here all around me. And so when we hang out in the forest or in the park or on the mountainside, we are breathing oxygen-rich air. And oxygen enlivens us and brings energy to every cell in our body. Oxygen helps us with repair and regeneration. And when we breathe deeply, it stimulates our nervous system to relax, to go into our parasympathetic nervous system, where we relax and our digestion kicks in. Drinking pure water is something that should be accessible to every human being and every animal. Unfortunately, it's rather a challenge to find clean water. But water is, of course, also essential to life. And it conducts electricity. And we're all electric beings. All these beings you see around us here and ourselves, we're all electric. And when we're dehydrated, we don't conduct electricity as well. We contract, our bodily functions don't work as well. Things get jammed up. We get brain fog. So the simple act of drinking several glasses of clean, vital water every day can change a person's life. So if you have access to spring water, as we are blessed to be here, how much water you drink a day varies with the size of your body, with how hot the weather is, with the amount of exertion you're doing with your body, with your internal body temperature. There's all kinds of factors. But you can, start with 5 or 6 glasses of water over the course of the day, and, generally just try to have a jar of water sitting out, and room temperature is nice. And just try to get in that habit of taking in water. If you live in the city and your water is treated with chlorine and fluoride and has been had its energy subdued by running through the pipes and all of that, you can get yourself a really good water filter. If you can't access that, you can leave your water in an open pan overnight so the chlorine can evaporate off. You can put a crystal in the water. You can bless the water. There are various ways that you can transform your city water. But if you have any way of getting to a spring or a creek, I tend to not drink from the creek during spring runoff. But other than that, I go for it. And even in spring runoff, I wonder if we might get some beneficial microbiome from the animal shit melting in the snow into the creek. Who knows? This makes sense to me. But in general, I feel quite safe drinking my local creek. But any way that you can get pure water into you, it will bring you a lot more energy, and it will clean out your system and just help you feel a lot more clear-headed. So now, number 3, eating whole food. If we define whole food, it's food that is in its original form, the form that it was in when it came out of the ground or off the tree. Hasn't been broken. It hasn't been added to or taken away from. It comes with its intended nutrient matrix. And it connects us to the earth. If we can get whole food from our own vegetable garden or our own neighborhood or our own region, it connects us with the very land that we live on. Of course, it's a ball, so it's all connected, but to be connected to your local ecosystem just helps us to ground in with our homeland and to essentially become one with our own ecosystem. So why is it important to eat whole food? Every bodily function uses nutrients as fuel. If we don't get certain nutrients, certain little trace minerals, certain proteins, certain vitamins, then bodily functions will begin to not be able to happen. I had this goat once who I got up in the morning and she couldn't hold her head up. And she had recently had some baby goats. And we had run out of alfalfa hay at the wrong moment and didn't have any money. And she got so low in calcium that her muscles couldn't contract, because calcium helps the muscles contract. And magnesium helps the muscles relax. So if we hadn't taken her to the vet, this problem would have, gone deeper into her body, and eventually her heart wouldn't have been able to contract. But they gave her a shot of calcium, and within seconds she was perked up again. So it's just one example of how vital one nutrient can be to our very survival even. So whole food comes with a nutrient matrix that is, designed to work together to bring us all that we need. And when we eat like white rice with the brown covering polished off, there's really not much left for us but starch, which becomes sugar in our bodies and spikes our blood sugar, etc. So it's just so important to eat food that's going to give us what we need. And when we eat food that is empty, like processed food or junk food or pop and all the shit, we're always hungry. And that's why some people, might even be very overweight, but they're always hungry. And that's because they're hungry. That's because they're truly hungry. They're starving because there's no nutrients in their food. If a person has a diet of processed food, then they're going to starve their body and keep eating but finding no sustenance. So these are just 3 simple ways, sometimes when we are kind of spinning out, it's hard to take care of ourselves, but it's always doable to take a deep breath, to take 5 deep breaths, to drink a glass of water, and to have a good wholesome meal. And of course, there are a bazillion self-care tips that I could give you. I could go on and on, write a whole book about it. And I'll do the next video, I'll add some more self-care tips. But for now, I hope that this gives you some good grounded ways to find your way back to balance and to maintain balance. And I'm just going to add, all of this is, of course, being with nature, because air is nature and water is nature and food is nature. But, when I'm hanging out in the trees here with my skin exposed, these little chemicals come wafting off the trees and dock in special receptors in my skin and set off a dopamine response. Or when I, When I smell soil, it sets off serotonin in my brain, and these are feel-good hormones. It makes us feel good because we're designed to live in nature. It's our natural habitat. So I will leave you with this, and we'll see you next time. And keep up the good work, my loves. I believe we are manifesting a compassionate and loving world. We are the creators. So we'll see you next time. Enjoy your day here on planet Earth.